Hello, and you're all very welcome to Along the Line, CK Streaming's brand new podcast. And what a week to start the show with Tipperary's historic Munster Final football victory and Tipperary Senior Hurlers losing their All-Ireland crown. It's a busy show, and we'll be getting the views of Tipperary legend Declan Browne, Enda O'Sullivan of the Tipperary Football Committee, Damian Lawlor of RTE Sport, two-time All-Ireland medal winner Conor and Michael McCarthy, Secretary of the West Board and host of the Westview podcast. Joining me here is Sean Maher. And Sean, there's only one place to start. What a result in Páirc Uí Chaoimh.
Yeah, it was a great weekend for Tipp football and for across the country, between Tipp winning and Cavan winning. Tipp winning the Munster Final after 85 years, and who could have thought waking up Sunday morning that Tipp were going to go down and beat Cork and beat them well, like no one, only the players themselves thought they were going to go down and upset Cork in their own backyard. Like, it was a great help for Tipp football as a whole, like, because all the talk coming into this weekend was about Tipp and Galway and the hurling.
Yeah, some result alright, Sean. Who could have believed this? They really put Cork to the pit of their collar. They were by far the better team, laid down the marker 3 points in the first 2 minutes and set their stall out fairly early, didn't they?
Yeah, so you take it, Conor there, he come back from Australia, 5 years since he's played football for Tipp, and he comes back, and the confidence he showed, like, first ball he got the ball straight on top of Conor Sweeney there, and Conor Sweeney won the free, and that set the tempo straight away. You had likes of Mikey Quinlivan there, he was kicking pints off the left. He kicked a great pint there under the stand there in the first half. And if he was from Kerry or Dublin, like, the talk that would be going on about that pint outside the boot, like, and over the bar, and the confidence he shows, he's a great footballer. I don't know why people don't talk about more, like, because he's a serious footballer. If he was with Kerry or Dublin, he would be winning Player of the Year and All-Stars and everything, like. So then you have like Sir Robbie Kiley and Kevin Fahey there. They're dogs, like, what the spirit they showed throughout the whole match was unnatural, like.
Yeah, Alan Campbell in the full back line, Jimmy Feehan, great leadership shown there as well, like. So you're talking, we've been waiting on this day for a long time, and all the hard work that was put in with development squads, it's finally paid off.
Absolutely, yeah. You even see it after the match there. You see Colin O'Riordan, he crying, like for a man like coming back from playing Aussie rules, like, you imagine, like, coming back, like, the money he's making with, I know the money doesn't affect it, but like coming back to play with Tipp, like, and the man crying on television, like, it's great to see it, like, for like all, like, as we say, all the talk coming into the weekend was about the hurlers, the big Titanic clash against Galway. But to go down to Cork there yesterday in the Michael Hogan jerseys and to see the emotion they put on display, like, it was just like outstanding. Like, it was like they won in All Ireland yesterday, like, and the emotion everyone showed, like, just like, it was great to see as a Tipperary supporter. And it's a shame there was no fans there, because the die-hard football fans of Tipp, and they couldn't go to the match, and it's just great to see, like.
Moving on to the hurling now, disappointing result in the Gaelic rounds in Limerick as we relinquished our All-Ireland title.
Yeah, it was, and the other side of the coin, then we have Tipp losing. But in fairness, it was, in my opinion, I think it was the best match of the year so far. Like, the scoring was so high, like, for November hurling, like, that's great to see. Like, I thought, like, to be honest, I thought Tipp were going to do it, like, right, we're going to say the sending off affected, but like, it was still in their hands. It was just the last minute goal really killed it, and the time it came out, like, because it was the best performance we got. Like, the two Mahers there were outstanding there, and sure, Shamey was back to his best. Like, Jesus, when Shamey got the first goal, I could see images of him in 2015 against Galway, like, when he got the 3 goals, like. But in fairness to Dahi Burke, Shamey got his moments and he walled him well, like. But it just wasn't Tipp's there, like. In fair play to Galway, like, they drove on when they needed to, like, and they got the scores.
Yeah, just talking about Shamey there, and it's a hot topic that's been mentioned a few times. Dragged down, going down on goal in the last minute by Adrian Tootie. Is it time we start looking at black card and hurling?
It is and it isn't. Like, right, it was cynical, but is there surely another way? You can, maybe a penalty or something should have been given, or like black cards. You see it in football, like, it kind of, like, I don't know, it takes the tradition out of the hurling, the black card. Like, you want to see a good physical game of hurling, like, and which we did see it. Like, alright, they took Shamey down, but if it was the other way, if Joe Cannon was running through now, when you expect Paddy or Ronan or someone to take him down, like, so there was for and against black card, and sure, the big heads in Dublin will talk about it over the winter, but I don't really see the need for it now, unless something cynical really happens. But that's just us being from Tipp. Like, if it was shoes in the other foot, you'd be praising them for taking them down. So
yeah, I suppose so. You don't win All Ireland by being nice, I suppose. Like, so if Galway end up with Liam McCarthy, they'll be saying it was a great decision. Like, but we'll just have to wait and see if they can do it, and hopefully Tipperary will be back battling in the not too distant future for another All-Ireland. Despite the result on Saturday, there's still plenty of positives to take out of it. There's plenty still left in the tank in some of them players. We also have a lot of talent coming through there as well.
Yeah, sure. You seen like Jake Morris is a down starter. Like, he scored a goal against Limerick and a goal against Cork. Alright, he was lucky to stay on the field Saturday, but he's a man for the future. Like, and we also seen Paddy Cadell coming in there, like another big strong man. Like, you'd hope he'd be the next Paddy Maher, like in the back line, just to strengthen it up. We also have Mark Keogh there and Willie Connor. Willie Connor's coming in there and he's making a serious impact there, especially against Cork. Like, he came on and lifted the game when Tipp needed it. Even going to the under 20 game there a few weeks back, you have Conor Bowen and Andrew Ormond there making great impact. So like, the future is bright. Like, right, I know Shamey and Paddy and Brendan, they're getting old, but if Tipp fans aren't worried, because them boys have still a lot left in the tank to go. Like it's November hurling. It's not hard for it's hard for people to hurl in it. Alright, you have Limerick going right, but Limerick are a young team. Limerick average age is 24 or 5. Like, Tipp's average age is nearly 30. Like, so I won't panic now. If I was a Tipp supporter, I won't be panicking. Like, once Liam Sheedy is there and Eamon O'Shea is there, these men have the tools to make these players work and gel, and I could see us win the All-Ireland next year. So anything's possible after that.
Yeah, hopefully anyway, with the likes of Liam Sheedy, Eamon O'Shea, Owen Kelly and that, anything is possible, like, and Tommy Dunn there as well, like, so they keep the head up, and we're still there, lads. Another year be starting fairly shortly. We'll be looking at the league possibly in February, like, so while the heads are down now at the minute, we still have plenty there to go forward, like, and look forward with the future being bright. Like, so moving on to our guests now, we're proud to introduce our very first guest on the show and along the line, Tipperary legend, two-time All-Star and Irish international rules player as well, Declan Browne. Declan, welcome to the show.
Declan, I met you in Croke Park in 2011 after the minor All-Ireland. You were shedding a few tears. I'm sure you were emotional yesterday.
Yeah, it was great, the day we always hoped. We tried to get there as players, and your day will come, and we've done our part. But as years go on, and you get closer and closer, and yes, you don't win. It seems to get longer and longer and further away than ever. So it was super to get over the line eventually, and there's no more of those there to there.
Yeah, like, this is no fluke. There's a lot of work gone in at ground level down through the years. Like, some great fellas there put a lot of time into Tipperary football. Like,
yeah, there is, and that goes back. It goes back 100 years, or more. There's lots of great people, lots of great managers I'd say on there, lots of great chairmen, administrators, everything that it's for them as well, And the big thing you said there, like, it wasn't a fluke. All the work that had been done. But for me, on the day itself, it wasn't a fluke, which is fierce important. We're not reading papers today or listening to interviews today that, this fellow was sent off, or a referee's decision, or anything like that. We won on merit, and I genuinely couldn't believe how how much underdogs we were coming into this game from the people outside. I think it's 5 or 6 to 1 in the bookies, and I wonder where they got that from, but. It was nice to be able to perform, the lads to turn up on a special weekend, on a special day that was in it, and do the new jersey. Very proud.
yeah, they got off to a flyer, 3 points in the first 2.5 minutes. Cork come back level again, and Tipp just attacked them. They were by far the better team there in the first half, like, so going in 4 points ahead, like, at half time. Like,
I would imagine that was a big thing for Tipp to burst onto it, in the first 10 minutes. It seemed to rattle Cork, so to be honest, they didn't know what to do, and I would imagine they wanted that start to really, to upset Tipp and put them on the back foot. But it was direct football, very, very well organised defensively, and then once we turned the Cork over, the lads inside Tweedy and Culliver are just, when they're on song, you can kick any kind of ball into them and they'll do damage, and that's the way it is. And once they got the first 2 or 3 points, they were handy scored, but there wasn't a finger laid on them by any Cork defender. So once you get those types of scores to get into the game, those lads will want to take full advantage for the whole game.
Yeah, I think Michael Quinlivan, he gave his best performance in the Tipp jersey since 2016, probably.
Yeah, I suppose we all know what he can do and what he's capable of. He's a class act. And, I suppose everyone goes through form, everyone goes through different periods of form in their careers, and I suppose in the last couple of games he probably wouldn't have been happy himself. But then that's expectation, that's what we come to look for in Mikey every day he goes out, and it's not simple as that. But I said it all week that if our players, our top players turned up and performed on the day, that I couldn't be beaten. And it turned out like that. Like Conor and Mikey were super. Conor Reardon was excellent. Liam Casey and Dean O'Brien were super in the middle of the field. And like to me, probably the man of the match was for me was Kevin Fatty at centre back. He was brilliant all day. So once they turned up and they performed, there's nothing worse than coming into a final and going away for a sense. If we did this or if we did that, or I guess this or this that. It was a day where it was just perfect for Tipp, and there's no looking back and no regrets or anything. It's very special.
Yeah, like just talking about Kevin Fahey there, he was out on his feet when he was going off, but he covered some ground, like getting up and down, kicking that point in the first half there, coming up to half time when it was close, putting 3 points ahead. Like. Yeah,
that's the one thing I like about Kevin is when he moves up the field and he's on the end of a move for a shot. It nearly always goes over. He's very accurate, he's not afraid to have a cut off it either. But but it also came from the domination, I suppose, around the midfield area, and the forwards were on top as well. That it gave them back a small bit. It took the pressure off a small bit. Nothing worse than balls being rained down on top of you all the time, and you're getting no time to settle. So our backside, I won't say they had a comfortable day, but it was they had all their players under control. Obviously, Luke Connolly going off for Cork was huge. He kicked 2 matches free and 2 points to play in the first half. So once he would come back out in the second half, that was great boost for him.
Yeah, like Tipp failed to score for 18 minutes in the second half, and Cork kicked a lot of aimless ball in, and they either went wide or dropped into Evan Comerford's hand. Connolly was obviously a big loss for Cork. Like.
Yeah, and I think you imagine yourself down the 15-20 minutes ago, Cork were playing laterally. Once they got past that halfway, it didn't look like they wanted to shoot the forwards, and I felt once we didn't foul in around the D and around shooting area that we'd win the match, because it just felt that they had a fear of losing, and they were a young Cork team, and they will be back. They won a lot as well underage, and it's nothing worse than putting the booze into a team when they've lost us. They just seem like no one wants to take that responsibility on kicking the ball wide, and then when they did kick it, they were aiming the shots. So because of the pressure applied by the sit back. So as long as Cork were playing over back to field, I was quite happy.
Yeah, just looking there in the last few minutes too, when Cork needed a goal, and Mark Keane seemed to stand right in front of the goal. There was no movement out, so the Tipp backs were well able to control things like that. Like.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. Like, it's just when you're on top and everything's going for you, the pressure it's easier to apply pressure around the middle of the field. So Cork were trying to get in this long ball in, but Tipp just wouldn't allow them to get that opportunity to pull the trigger to lob the ball in. So it's amazing when the adrenaline and you can see that finishing line in sight, that you get that extra inch or two out of every player, and it does make a difference. And like Tipp were very hungry, but like obviously with governments to go, and the way the Cork brought it back to 3 points, you'd still be on the edge of your seat. You say, "Oh no, please don't do this to us," So we still didn't close out the game either, which was worrying enough too, because we're so used to probably getting caught and getting clipped on the line, and we just didn't want that to happen again. But I thought Marquis actually caught a couple of great balls out on the middle of the field when he was out there, but I didn't see him being any real danger inside the edge of the square. I think like their homework done.
Yeah, like you were saying, they're clipped on the line a few times. Like there has been huge disappointment in Tipp football down through the years. we were expecting to maybe push on in Munster Championships and things like that, and we got caught from Cork, especially a couple of times. Like, I think it was 13 or 14. We were up 5 or 6 points below in the park, and the following year 17 as well in Parky Ring. Like, so you're kind of afraid to think that we're going to do it until the final whistle is gone. Like, I remember being in Croke Park for the Galway game in 16, and we were looking around and we were saying, Tipp are actually going to do this. Like, so it's belief. Like, so, but you're nearly afraid to believe that.
Oh, yes, like I said, it was, and we're keen on the field. Our team of the big man as well. All he needs is a ball in long ball in, and someone get a stick to it. So. We're it would have been a travesty. I know it's no point thinking about it now, but it would have been a travesty if we didn't win that match. Like, we're probably 6 or 7 points better team. But we take the 3 points, we take the 1 point. It didn't matter what Conor Sweeney got his hands on the cup, but it makes up for a lot of disappointment. All the catching the back we've got for running these teams close at times, and the moral victory. So this puts everything in place. This closes this chapter for good. We can drive on from here, or we can fall away again. It doesn't matter. It's the 85 years finished, done and dusted, over with, and it's great to be 2020 champions. Especially when it started the year. During the year we thought we'd have no game, and when you take into account Michael Quillivan and Liam Casey were Liam McGraw on the off transfer, and Conor Reard obviously wouldn't be around, so COVID has been good to have been kind to this, so we won't complain.
Yeah, with the bloody Sunday thing and everything, it could be written in the stars. Like
the four remaining teams, like, whatever one owns, like, I don't think anyone in Ireland thought having taken out any goals. So, like, for those to make up the last place and to have it the same as 1920 is incredible. Like, if you believe in that stuff, you would have thought 100 years since today, and it's the same 4 teams in Ireland semi-final. So, the weekend that was in it was super huge for Tipp, because we learned in school what bloody Sunday meant. Probably we weren't told all of it, or we weren't taught all of it. And in terms of before the documentary, it was superb, and it gave us all a big insight into everything else that went on. And so for the week that was in it, we all watched that. We were all hyped up and pumped up for it, and like I said in the interviews, Conor Sweeney and Ferguson said that it was his job and David's job to keep the players' mind focused and keep 2 feet on the ground, because he could have got carried away and all this hullabaloo and took the eye off the ball for the game, and in fairness they didn't, and I think it is. We've all loved to be going into a dressing room with that jersey hanging on a hanger waiting to go out on Munster final day. So I think they probably didn't need to say a hell of a lot. It was just all built up inside them and ready to get out.
Yeah, it must have been a huge honour for yourself on Saturday evening to carry the flag in Croke Park.
That was incredible. It's probably up there with anything I've done. It was eerie, it was emotional, it was, just to be part of it, to be asked even in the first place to, I don't mean to be sounding corny or anything like that, but I represented all Tipp people and Tipp footballers, and it was a huge honour for me to be asked to do that, and I know it's the same for Alan Bowden as well on the Dublin side. It was only a small part to play in it, but to be up there in Croke Park on the same day, like 100 years ago, that Michael Hogan was shot, and to be 20 yards away from, when he shot on the field in Croke Park was something I'll never forget, to be part of all that. And following day then, obviously, to be looking forward to Munster final was great as well. But Santa's okay. I think I didn't watch it that great and that, but by all accounts, the GA did a fantastic job. Honours as well. So I think everyone's happy. Busy, obviously, family members or extended family from bloody Sunday couldn't attend the ceremony, but I hope they enjoy it on the television.
Yeah, and just finishing up, it'd be remiss of us not to mention the work that goes in from the likes of the Friends of Tipperary Football, what they've done for football in the county. Like, I've travelled to matches with the going busloads, and what what football means to them and what they've done for Tipperary football is unbelievable. Like.
It's incredible, and it goes back way further. You know, I was a great friend, Seamus McCarthy. You know, Peachy Savage, maybe Donovan, Michael Frawley, Hugh Kennedy. You know, you hate to name the names. Michael Power. You know, because you're always going to leave out someone, but. Like I remember when we won the Tommy Murphy Cup, you know, to see the tears in Mick Frawley's eyes, you know, that we actually won something in Croke Park. So that's what that meant. So only imagine what they're looking down and saying, you know, that you know the pride must be there. But small little stories. When I started playing, whatever 96, 97. We always, all our away matches, league matches, we'd be warming up and we'd be doing the kick around, kicking the goals, and we'd always see this man in a long grey trench coat in the terraces at our end for the warm up. And we like glasses, white hair, and I'll never forget it. Every match, whether it was Newry, whether it was Wesley Park, whether it was Milltown Malday, he was there. His name was Michael Kennedy. You know, he died a few years back. But to see that chap, he lives in Dublin, he gets the bus or train, he get a lift then to the venue, and he'd always be there. And you know, those kind of people, like that's just incredible. You know, and that was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So those people are there. They did the same thing the following week, whether we won or lost or drew. And it's just like the friendly Tipperary football post, like it's synonymous now with Tip matches, and you know, all the club mates of mine on us and all over the county. Like that, even when we got on the big role in 2016, like, I'll never forget the Derry match above in Cavan. Just Cavan in
Breffley Park, yeah.
Breffley Park, yeah, in Breffley Park. The celebration on the field afterwards, but like you know, the handful of people that were there. You knew their names. You just smiled at each other, shook hands in a hug, and off you went then to the next thing. You know, so there's a loyal band there. Like we get out, we do wins and we do more, and we get out about systems and players and who did this and who did that. But I think in general and overall, I know the players even yesterday will be delighted for every person that has contributed in some way, whether it be support or on the field of play or in the administration. So. It's a great occasion for all of us to witness, number one, and to be glad that we take some sort of part in it.
Yeah, it's just a pity that they weren't able to be there, like so.
Yeah, that's the reason we see my own two daughters. You know, like I would hope they'll remember this day, but you know, it's very unlikely that they would love to be there. As every other kid in Tipperary would have been, to get their jersey signed, to get pictures of Conor Sweeney and Michael Quinlivan and Alan Campbell and all these lads with the cup, and they're the memories that you'll have forever. So it is an awful pity, but we're lucky to have any games. But I suppose if you look back, we're disappointed we couldn't be there. But there's also 10 or 12 or 13 lads that trained all year that couldn't be there either part of the panel, which is very disappointing as well. You know, but you know, I know there's rules there and they need to be obeyed. But you know, so however hard done by we feel and however sad we weren't present. You know, those guys were watching at home as well. So that's the sad part. You know, and the last thing I'd say is like a special mention to Jack Kennedy. You know, who was missed yesterday through injury. You know, that young chap has done incredible work for Tipp. I thought we really missed him yesterday with the freeze, but thankfully it didn't come to that. And we got over the line.
Declan, thanks for everything, and look, we'll hope to be talking to you again soon. Like, so we've Mayo Sunday week, so hopefully we'll be in a position to preview that. So thanks for everything.
Delighted to be on.
Joining us along the line now is Damian Lawlor at RT Sport. Damian, welcome to the show.
Thanks a million, Massey.
Damian, what results on that? As a Tipp man and somebody who's worked with Tipp football, must have been some privilege working at the game.
Yeah, it's absolutely steep. Like it's hard to get your head around it. Like I haven't stopped thinking about it since. I suppose if I'm being honest about it, I was home in Killer1 there with Mam on Saturday night because I was working at the hurling match in the Gaelic grounds. And I came back to Killer1 that night and couldn't sleep a bit, because I knew there was something big coming on the Sunday. And I think it was 4:00 in the morning. I was wide awake, and I was trying to get back to sleep. And it was worse last night then, like after the game. Totally wired. Just the historical significance of it yesterday. And I suppose meeting lads that you've had a bit of interaction with in the past. I've been involved in 2 development squads. And now the first one, under 17, I was with Shane Ronayne, Shane Stapleton, James Farrelly, and Stephen Morgan. And I was learning off those lads. And then with the under-20s, it was myself, Dave Power, Mick O'Sullivan, Kieran Maguire, Tommy Toomey. And, I was learning off those lads as well. But with the under-17s, Mossy, we had Colin O'Riordan, and we had Kevin Fahey and Josh Keane. We had Luke Boland. And you could see at that stage, O'Riordan was a born leader, and with the under-20s, even though we had our work cut out and Cork beat us in the championship, Conal Kendi, Dara Brennan, Reen Quigley, Jack Harney, they all would have come off that squad as well. Now, they would have come off it through their own hard work and the coaching that the lads gave them as well. And literally, I learned as much from them now as they certainly did for me, that's the truth. But just to see that little crop coming through, because we'd stagnated there for the last 2 years. So to answer your question, yesterday was fierce emotional altogether. I had to hold it together. But after the hurlers losing on Saturday, it was just an unbelievable pick-me-up, to be honest, Mossy. And sure, you know yourself, you go to all the games anyway, hurling and football.
Yeah, I'd see the emotion in the Tipp lads there when you're interviewing him after the game, what it meant to him. And for anybody that don't would have recognised in your voice the emotion you were showing there yesterday as well. Must have been hard to put together.
I was just looking back at pictures there on the phone, of the last 6 or 7 years, and we have pictures there of David Power and Mick O'Sullivan and our under-20s training in the snow in Ennis there a few years ago, and pictures of my young lad involved in the warm-up or carrying the water for the boys a few years ago too. And just when we won the Darrell Darcy Cup, the late Darrell Darcy under-17, that night in Limerick, just 4 or 5 of us gathered around. We got a nice picture of the cup, and you're going through all these pictures on your phone, and all the league games I've gone to, and all the lads would come over and take a picture with the young lad afterwards. And then we brought up Kieran Donaghy then to work with Dan O'Mara, who Dan was on the Tipp panel until this year, and I still believe can be a great footballer for Tipp if things work out for him. But Kieran came up to Killanangan to try and coach him into the inside forward role, and looking back at all these pictures, and you just realise that it's a special family to be part of. And you've worked with all the lads, and really when they come over to do the interview with you, you just shut up and put the microphone in front of them, and they take it from there, because there's nobody wants to listen to me, and I've nothing to say that anybody wants to hear. But these lads, O'Riordan's journey, he hadn't played football. I was going to say he hadn't played football for us for 5 years. And
how important was it that Sydney Swans give Colin permission?
Massive, because I think he tried a couple of times and it wasn't happening. And then he went back to the joint captains, and I think with the Bloody Sunday thing, he really rammed home the personal nature of this. And I think that it helped then that Mark Keane had scored a goal for Cork against Kerry, that they could see that other guys in other counties were back playing with their counties, like playing in Meath as well, up north too. And important, sure, I mean, you can even say the way he kicks the ball, he's changed his style and technique completely, but his accuracy hasn't left, and he's fielding. At under 17 level, I remember him just rising into the clouds, and he did it again yesterday at crucial times. And I don't think we would have won the game without him, Mossy, to be honest.
Yeah, you could see there when Tipp were under pressure, I think 4 minutes, and I think Sean White had a chance of a goal, and he kind of hesitated and put it over the bar. But from the Evan Comerford's kick out, O'Riordan soared over everybody in the middle of the field, and he won the free. But there was obviously mountain in, and it was moved forward. Comerford came up, kicked it. Mikey Quinlivan intercepted. In the space of a couple of seconds, we were 4 points up, and it made it off a
because of that play. Yeah, and I mean, again, I go back to when he was a kid. Don't get me wrong, by the time he came to our under 17s, he was already a star, so there was nothing for us. Literally, we had trials there, and for the 10 weeks we were involved, he stood on the sideline in the piss and rain, in the horrible weather, encouraging the rest of the lads. And I'll always remember him with the hoodie pulled over, it was October, November. Dr. Morris Park now, it's not for the pretty amongst us. Yeah, it's not and he was just there every single night. He was the first name on the team sheet. Had he turned up on match night, he would have gone straight into the team, you know. But like, just an unbelievable leader, and kept in touch with him the whole time since he gone away to Sydney. And when he made his Sydney Swans debut, he was on to all of us saying thanks. Like, and I'm often wondering, what's he be thanking me for? Like, literally carrying water, you know. But he's just that sort of a fella. And I mean, a couple of years ago, I thought like we could nearly go all the way with things working out. But you'd need Atchison, and you'd need Colin, you'd need Robbie Kiley, and you'd need Quinlivan, and all them lads together at the same time. And we're nearly there. Like, I mean, we have Atchison is still away, and he's a massive, massive loss. Like, I mean, Lee McGrath's in Australia. Josh Keane is away at the minute as well. But this year, something about this year, Mossy, because Quinlivan, Casey were gone off travelling, and they came home, and then Colin came home for 2 months, which he hasn't been home for 2 months in 5 years. And the COVID happened, and you wonder, is it written in the stars? But I know from talking to one or two lads this morning already, they're keen to do a bit more now. You know, they're not just ready to leave a go at that. I think they'll give Mayo a good rattle.
Yeah, there's no fear. There's no reason to be afraid of Mayo. Like,
sure, there's not. Like, I mean, there's nobody going to expect Tipp to win that game. Like, so I mean, I think the victory was achieved yesterday, and I think all the pressure has gone off. All the history's gone away now, because the history was hard now, even for the likes of us watching it on the line. Sure, anytime you'd see that green and white jersey, you'd be in tatters, like, you know. And like, I would have gone to college with PJ Lanigan in Carlow IT, and PJ from Grange Mokler, I don't know, do you know him? But he would have played wing forward for the Tipp footballers for quite a while. And he owns a pub in Kilkenny, and his grandfather Dick was on the Bloody Sunday team. And I used to hear PJ talking to me about it in college. And I suppose you're young, like, it never really resonated with me what it was all about. And then when he opened the pub in Kilkenny, he had his grandfather's medals there, like, and you're getting the significance of it, all right. But it's just when Bloody Sunday book came out with Mick Foley, Bloody Field, and the documentaries, and then you're seeing like there's actually first-hand descendants of these people still around. And like, Tipperary, the GAA was founded in Thurles, and to have a Tipperary team playing on the biggest landmark in GAA history, well, sure, like, we're just privileged really to be where we're from. And that's what I'm saying. All that history is I don't know, will they wear the green and white jerseys the next day now, but they'll go into that game free of any shackles, I think, you know.
Yeah, I just seen as well there some of the scores. Quinlivan and Conor Sweeney kicked yesterday. Sensational scores.
Yeah.
Every time we hear Morris Fitzgerald-esque, but anybody knowing these players, these lads are doing it for years.
Years and years and years. And they can do it at, like, Mikey can be going through a game and he mightn't get a sniff and he can just turn it on like that. And I mean, that's just talent. I don't know, can anybody coach that at all? I think you have it, and once you've got the work ethic then, and the confidence and the leadership to take on. He took on that game by the scruff of the neck yesterday, Mossy. I suppose a big leader. And the last few games he'd been quiet enough now. I'd seen all of them, like, and he'd been quiet, and he'd distracting fellas and scoring when he was able to. But yesterday he seized that game, and Sweeney, I actually think Sweeney should have an all-star by now myself. And it's easy to say that, you know, who'd you leave out? But I think the year we got to the All-Ireland semi-final, he was worthy of an all-star that year. And I think he's shown unbelievable form again this time around. He's scoring he's a severe leader. Like, I mean, he's just really switched on and tuned in. And but come here, I'd lose run of myself if I was going through all of them. But Brian Fox, Jimmy Feehan, I think we had Jimmy under 17 as well. And like, just to see the work ethic, really, that's what won it for them yesterday. They turned over Cork 12 times, I think, to get crucial scores.
Yeah, because even when they were in trouble there in the second half, they seemed Cork were coming at him, but the fresh legs that came in did make a difference. They all worked like dogs, like.
Yeah, they did. And Jack Hendy could be back the next day. And I mean, like, Liam Boland's been going great whenever he's come on. And Paddy Feehan would have been captain of our under-20 team when he was playing hurling that year. I think Philly Austin, Philly's around since 2006.
The evergreen Philly.
The evergreen Philly from the green jersey of Bursakane. And I tell you, he owes nothing to nobody. Like, the Dave Power deserves great credit too, to bring the likes of himself and Brian Fox and ease them back into that team. Like, and Philly's been carrying an injury there for a few weeks. Stephen O'Brien, another unsung hero too. And it, like, I suppose if you look at it then, like, you go over to the hurlers, for example, like, and this is just probably pie in the sky talk because of the county we are. Hurling will always come first. But like, you John McGrath, Seamus Kendi, John Maher, Who am I leaving out? Possibly there's another footballer or two there that could easily have slotted into the teams,
Actually, the list is endless, like even down through the
list
years.
is endless,
if you look at it, John Carroll, Paul Ormond, all these fellas when Tipp were in Barron years, like John Lahey, all these.
I even watched Noel in the club championship this year a lot more. He was spraying the ball around like just a quarterback. Like, I mean, the list is endless. Like, and I suppose really the point I'm making is that I suppose my own opinion is like while hurling comes first, and I know from being involved with the under-20s, like it's so hard to get anybody from the north out to be released by their clubs. I remember even ringing you, I think.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Looking for lads to come on trials with us. And I think you gave me one or two names. One young lad is actually playing for Wicklow. He's one of the Moneygall guys. But the point I'm making is they're more inclined to go training with their club like hurling senior. No, it looks fair enough because Conor McCarthy and Billy Seymour are two guys that we tried to push with our under-20s. And I both would have made the panel, in my opinion, but like they couldn't commit because of hurling, and they won an All-Ireland 21 medal or under-20 medal with Lean Cal the year after. So you can't argue with it. But the point I'm making is I think the county's big enough not to be worried about dual players. That won't work anymore. But to have a successful hurling squad and a successful football squad. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody over the number 30 on a hurling squad would lose anything by committing to football, But I suppose it all depends on who's the managers at any given time. And it shouldn't actually. There should be structures in place, I think,
Yeah, I seen it myself last year now, involved with the North Tipp under 16, and we were trying to get him players from certain clubs. But they wanted to focus on county minor. Now, they didn't make the county under 16 last year, and they didn't make the county minor this year. So, but they had made up their mind that they were, and we did try hard to try and get these lads in. Like, so.
Yeah, well, I spent weeks ringing all the club officials in North Tipp. I'm actually making the point that if the lads are giving us the year like to develop with their conditioning and athletically, and it'll complement the hurling actually, because I mean the games are very similar, but off the shoulder running and tackling back and turnovers and work rate. There's links between both sports. So, but anyway, look, that argument will rage on for all time, I think, in Tipp, and. I'm from hurling heartland myself in Killarwan, but like we've unbelievable footballers in Killarwan if they got any sort of a chance.
With a chap in there last year from Killarwan with the under 16s, I can't think of his name now. Niall.
Wasn't Austin? Was it? Or?
No, the name has gone from me. No, he was actually one of the under 16s better footballers. Now I think he went on with the minors this year. Now I could be wrong, like, but
maybe young Shinners maybe. But anyway, the even like. I think this year with Killarwan, even when all the hurling teams bowed out, Keane O'Kelly's dad Liam is in charge of the junior footballers, and I think he got 40 players down in the field for kind of, I won't say trials, but for like that an internal practice match, getting ready for the junior championship that never happened actually. But the interest could be there. I think yesterday's win will give everybody a massive lift in that you can put on that blue and gold jersey and be very competitive once more. But, it's very, very seldom over the years I went to see a Tipperary team that got absolutely hockeyed in football either. Like, obviously, Kerry gave us a few trimmings, but the lads never, ever give up. Like, I mean, I go back to when I started off, like, as a journalist, Niall Kelly, Mark Sheehan, Kevin Coonan, all these guys, Tom Island, all these guys were, Kevin Mulrine, he came later, but they were all fighting the fight for North Tipp and football circles long before... I seen
Niall Kelly in 2002 in the Lash and Rain below in Killarney against Clare. Yeah. They actually drew the same day, and Niall Kelly had to get into his car after the game and go hurl with Killarwan or Killadangan, sorry.
Okay, Killadangan,
and
yeah.
If Tipp were playing a Munster semi-final in hurling, do you think a fella would have to go out to Holy Cross or somewhere?
No, but I remember in 1994 Tipp reached the Munster Football Final, and the North Tipp hurling final was on the same day. And like, I mean, Mark Sheehan was playing wing forward for Tipp that day, if not midfield, and we possibly had a second North representative as well. So like it hasn't always been done right, but look, we're realistic too. Like, I mean, hurling is gospel down home, and the football isn't gospel where I'm from. But it's gospel in other parts of Tipp, and that should be respected as well. And I suppose really certain managers have got on quite well over the years, football and hurling, and certain managers haven't. Shouldn't be left down to that, though. I think there should be a plan, and the county board should determine, okay, if a guy is not going to rake the top 30 in hurling, then if he wants, he should be allowed to play football and take it from there.
And do you think with the way the senior football or the senior championship worked this year with hurling 1 week football to follow, would it be worth trying that at juvenile level as well, like to promote both games?
I don't know what I thought it worked great. I mean, I covered most weeks. I covered games in hurling and football. I thought that the hurling championship this year was sensational, to be honest with you. I thought it was really good, and I actually felt we might kick on from the county team in that. It's worth a shot. I mean, I know in fairness now, like my friend Shane Connolly and people like that are involved in football and hurling with Nina Rogan. They're trying to get it going again there. Inan Rovers, like Mossy, there's no reason whatsoever that they always are great footballers. Like, and again, with our squad, the under-20s, the likes of Conor Bood and all that, like, I mean, we tried for Dara Tyne, and Dara was caught with rugby at the time, and Alan could be back playing football soon enough too. You never know. Although his rugby career is still a priority, I would imagine. But Conor Boot was a player we looked at under 20. He was the hardest player I've seen physically at that age for a long time. But he was, after coming back off the Glenstall Munster Senior Cup win, and he had his leaving cert. And the point I'm making is Ross Gray should be churning out 3 county players every year as a club. Yeah,
there is a few good lads there, the likes of James Ball and Damian Carroll.
Yeah, great fella.
John Hartnett, all these fellas with Inan. They're promoting it like so.
And James was a great help to me now, and he was with the county minors as well, and he's a great help to me trying to feed the lads, because we had 5 or 6. We had Conor, we had Sam, we had 5 or 6 Ross Gray lads in for trials at various stages, and just to get them out in that environment again was good, I felt, and they all had talent. It's just, I suppose, in our Tipp, like, you don't get exposure to any proper championship really in football, I mean, I was with the Killer One minors this year, helping out Mark O'Leary and John Casey and a few more. And we played 1 football game, I think, and we ended up then having to concede the second because just the numbers weren't there, so it's disappointing. Like,
yeah, just talking about Inan Rovers there, the great Jimmy Cunningham would have been looking down a proud man yesterday.
He would, yeah, and there's a lot of people that would have been proud. Mick Frawley would have been very, very proud. And you think if I saw Michael Power there at the match yesterday, and you're looking at Hugh Kennedy, Eddie Lonergan, all these P.T. Savage, Pat Maroney, all these people that you'd come across during the years. Very emotional, Dave. Killer, really, they couldn't be there. And that's why, to go back to your original question, it was some privilege to be there. And as a journalist, maybe you take it a bit for granted. But I think I look back now, I only got 1 or 2 photographs taken, because you're so afraid to get a photograph taken these days with COVID. But I got a couple of photographs taken, and I have the match programme out in the car, and I think I might frame that one.
So, yeah, just as well, we were talking about promoting football in the county and that, but like, as I said, Davy Power, he's a winner. He surrounds himself with winners, but the amount of work that has been done at grassroots level, that can't go without saying. It's the likes of the Friends of Tipperary Football and that, they're brilliant, like, in what to do, like.
Yeah, so they came in around 1993 and they got a structure in place, and then maybe around 2008, 2009, 2010 maybe, the development squad structure started. And I can just think back, like, I mean, like, all the lads who played a part in that, like, I mean, from Shane Stapleton to Peter Creedon to Mick O'Loughlin, to Cracker Fitzgerald, to Paddy, and like, all the good people that have put the shoulder to the wheel. And we would have won Jim Power tournaments and under 15 tournaments, and I think 1 year ended with 3 or 4 trophies in the cabinet, and that wouldn't have been seen for Tipp football. So it's not an overnight sensation. 15 years of hard work, but I won't tell you a lie either, it's slacking off in the last 3 or 4 years too. We don't have the same talent coming through at underage, but I think they've taken steps to readdress that now in the last year or two. Again, hopefully, Pete likes the Peter Creedon back involved again, and I mean, you can't go wrong, really. I suppose the only challenge they have then will be all the lads will be playing both sports at those age groups,
Yeah, I remember the 125 celebrations in 2009, and Barry O'Brien said at the time, Tipp were going to win a football All-Ireland by 2020. We're in 2020 now.
Yeah, and we've won an All-Ireland minor. We've lost an All-Ireland 21. We're 2 games away from an All-Ireland senior final. And, no matter what happens anyway, nobody can laugh at that statement. And people give him hell for saying it. Like, I was only talking to Barry yesterday. And you got flack for saying that, but like we did very well against Mayo in 2016, and we didn't have our full complement of players. We might do better this time around. I'm not sure what way it'll go, and I don't really mind, to be honest with you, Mossy.
I think after this it's a bonus.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, and I'm fairly sure that we might even see a bonus, but I don't really mind, because I know the lads are going to back train on Wednesday night and be focused on that game very, very quickly. But to me, what happened yesterday is nearly enough petrol or diesel for me for a few years. It's a very special one. And I mean, I don't know if Kerry were there, would we have had a chance psychologically? But this Cork team probably felt we were capable of beating them. But they've had the march on us at underage now for the last few years, and we can't forget that either. So if we did not do the job yesterday, that was a goal and chance gone. Yeah,
I think it's 2015 actually since we've actually won an underage game between minor and under 20. So
yeah, I think maybe Tom McGlinchey did Tom's side win an under 20 game this year, but I think it's been a long time coming. If I'm wrong now, correct me, but yeah, I mean, there's been nothing there. Like the lads we would have worked with under 20 hadn't won a game underage, and whereas Conor Kennedy was on our squad, and his brothers would have played in All-Ireland finals and won an All-Ireland medal. Conor hadn't even won a game with him. So in the space of a few years, that's how much it changed. So nobody can afford to take the eye off the ball. In fact, I think we have to probably work harder. And if I can even
I don't know if you remember it yourself. I remember when in school myself, and they used to bring people out promoting football. That was back, not giving away our age or anything, but the early 90s of that. You had the likes of Sean Mockler, God rest him, and that now coming around. Mick O'Connell used to be brought up from Kerry at that stage. Yeah. And I remember looking at him, and I loved playing football. You'd be trying to show off in front of the likes of Mick O'Connell, and do things. But your parents and that would have, obviously we wouldn't have seen him play, but our parents would have told us about the likes of Mick O'Connell.
Yeah. And I mean, like, if
they can get back to the likes of that, and promote it,
you wouldn't have to go too far off your own doorstep either. I mean, bringing Sweeney or Quinlivan or Declan Browne or any of the lads, they're all great ambassadors anyway, and just think if we get the right people in at underage and we've got a few players coming through, we'll be okay. So while we're not winning much underage, we are producing players still, in fairness. I think David has got from 30 to 40, he's got a group of 10 young players that he's working with, and he's blood. And that's the great thing about David Power. He's always looking to the younger players. He never just abandons the older players. As you see, he creates a nice mix. And, I just hope he stays there for a while, and I hope people are lined up to replace him then when he does move on in a few years.
Yeah, because as you said, like the minor or the underage structure the last couple of years, I suppose the fact that, like you've seen it in clubs as well, they might win a county title or something and to forget about the grassroots. Maybe that could have happened with us for a few years. The fact that we were after winning the minor, we won Munster the following year and then got to an under 20 All-Ireland, and they could have forgot about the grassroots. Not saying that they did, but to get back to that now, and build on this.
Yeah, and get it. And look, I think that movement has hopefully started again, and it's a small enough family that will come in and do a bit. But everybody's a different role. I learned that. The lads will be. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of games I've seen, but you'd still be learning from the lads coaching wise. But I'd bring other stuff, in terms of maybe dealing with people. Or so the point I'm making is, people out there shouldn't feel that if they don't have the coach knowledge, they won't be able to help out. I mean, Tipp Football will welcome everybody in any capacity. And it's a great place to be involved in, and the slagging up in Dr. Morris Park is ferocious, from Pat the caretaker to getting your bit of grub on the way out. I really enjoyed it anyway, and I'm living up in Naas and Kildare, so it hasn't been easy driving up and down, but please God, go back in myself in a year or two, and I enjoyed working with all the lads. Mick O'Sullivan and Kieran Maguire are two great lads, maybe even go back in with them at some stage doing something.
Yeah. And just change the tack there now, Damian. I believe you have no book out now at the moment. So how's that going for you?
Yeah, it's going grand, in fairness. Yeah, it's this one here, When the World Stops Watching. It's out a few weeks now, Musty. It's about Irish sports stars and how they cope with retirement. So I spoke to 16 different athletes and got a few people to tie it all together as well. So it's going steady. It's in and around the top 5 there in the sales, and I think the reviews are decent enough so far. And there's a load of big name autobiographies out there at the minute, but these books are good because they're different, and I think they hold their own, like, you know. And I'd say it'd be a good reference point for people who are retiring from sport in years to come to be able to look at that and say, okay, he went through this or she went through this. Maybe I can learn from it.
Yeah. And that book, I presume, is available in all good bookshops.
Yeah, and maybe bad ones as well. It's no, it is. Yeah, and in fairness, like, bookshops in Nina and Thurles have been great. Like, they hopefully around the county too, but like, they've been given good old support. And it's look, I think it's a book you can dip in and out of too, Mossy. You especially with Christmas coming, you can dip into a chapter and leave it down and come up maybe 3 days later and take it up again. I enjoyed doing it all right. And again, like, the cooperation I got from people was great, because you wouldn't be able to do a book without that. Like, I mean, you're asking big names like Sonia O'Sullivan, Niall Quinn, Tommy Bowe, Paul Carberry, Marcus Horan, Dunico O'Callaghan. They all give you their time, like, and they don't ask for anything. It's amazing, really. So 4 soccer, 4 rugby, 4 individual sports, and then 4 female sports stars. So they comprise, and it's all personal human interest stories. I think it's interesting. Hopefully it is.
Yeah. It's on my Christmas list anyway. So
Yeah.
We'll listen, Damian. We'll let you go. Thanks for being one of the guests in the show. Hope to get to talk to you before the semi-final and possibly in All Ireland. Like, so thanks very much for everything.
Good man, Rossi. The best of luck with the podcast.
Yeah,
thanks very much.
Joining us now along the line is Enda O'Sullivan at PRO, the Tipperary Football Committee. Enda, welcome to the show. Must have been special to be there. You were one of the lucky ones.
I was one of the very lucky ones. Yeah, it was one of the most magical days of my life, I have to admit, Tomas. I was thinking about it on the drive home, and I was very fortunate to be there in Killarney 87. I was only a youngster, and I've witnessed some of the other great days with Tipperary. I'm thinking of the All-Ireland minor success in 2011 and the All-Ireland hurling success in 2010, and even watching my own club win the county final in 95. But yesterday was just up there with any of the best days of my life in a sporting context, in a personal context, professional context. It was just unbelievable. Just the whole emotion of the anniversary of Bloody Sunday, and then the lads performing the way they did to bridge an 85-year gap. It's something I know is going to live with me to the day I die. I'll never forget yesterday.
Yeah, the Bloody Sunday with its the anniversary and that, and Conor said after the game there that they had a job to do as well. Like, so do you think it was hard for them to put that to one side now without showing disrespect? Obviously they didn't show disrespect to it, like, but do you think it was hard to put that to one side then? I don't think it was for the players. These lads are extremely professional in everything they do, the way they train, the way they prepare, and I know wearing the jerseys might have been a bit of a distraction, but fair play to the county boards. They announced it 2 weeks previously, which took away all the attention from that. And the players themselves were just able to focus on the task in hand. I believe they had the jersey in training, so they were used to spotting each other in the green and white rather than the blue and gold. And as Conor said, yesterday for the team and the panel and the management, the only thing that mattered was the match itself, was the football, was Cork. Nothing else mattered, and it's now they can relax and they can look back on Bloody Sunday. They can look back at the significance of what they've achieved, and I'm sure it will add a lot of weight to the medal. Now, before they do that, I think the lads will actually start focusing straight away on Mayo. I don't even think they're going to start thinking about yesterday until the championship is over. Yeah, because Mayo now in 2 weeks' time, it's going to be a huge battle again. Like, but they've not to fear going to Croke Park. Nothing to fear. They'll probably go in as the underdogs, and but there's absolutely no reason to fear Mayo. We could have beat them in 2016. I think a harsh black card and Robbie Kiley was probably the difference between the two on the day. And then 17-18, we played them in Thurles in the qualifiers. Again, we missed a few chances and they went down and got a goal, and that was the difference. We've absolutely nothing to fear from Mayo, and I think if the lads went out with the same attitude, the same belief and the same work rate that they did yesterday, I've no fear of Mayo. I think the lads will give it their all and they'll give Mayo socks. Having Conor Reardon back is a huge bonus too. Fair play to Sydney Swans. Looking at the media, the Australian media have really bought into Tipperary having Conor Reardon back as well then. They have, yeah. In fairness to him, as Colin said himself after the match, Sydney Swans would have been well within their rights not to allow him play. And I suppose other clubs, other professional outlets, there's no way they would have allowed one of their players play in such a match. And I think we owe Sydney Swans a real debt of gratitude for that.
particularly in the last maybe 5-10 minutes of the game, when Tipp needed a leader, it was Conor O'Riordan who really stood up. He plucked balls out of the sky. A friend of mine, I was chatting to him on the phone today, and he said the only thing O'Riordan didn't catch yesterday in Cork was the coronavirus. He was just incredible. He was like a salmon leaping up into the air. Cork had no answer to him, and even his work rate to chase down that 45 that he won in the end, that was turned out to be a crucial free as well, or a crucial score. So, play to the Swans, we owe them a lot.
Lucky they didn't see when Kevin Moran came back to play for Dublin in an All-Ireland. I think he went back, legs hanging off and hamstrings. Lucky they didn't see that video.
I think we hit that video. We had it well buried before Davy Power and Conor O'Riordan contacted the Swans.
Well, it looks like we're going to have him for a semi-final as well. Like, he'd be a huge addition, not picking out one player, but he is a leader. Like, he's shown that since he was 15 years of age, like, been on that minor team at 2011. Like,
actually, I was just discussing that minor final with a work colleague there today, and we were just pointing out that even at 15, he was one of the leaders of that minor team. Like a 15-year-old going up against 18-year-olds at that age. I know it's only 3 years, but at teenage years, it's a massive age gap. Yet O'Riordan was one of the leaders of that team and one of the driving forces behind winning that match. And I believe his input in training over the last 8 odd weeks has been phenomenal as well. He's demanded high standards from all those around him and all the players. And the players really respect Colin. They really look up to him, and they've responded in kind. And even if Swans hadn't allowed him to play yesterday, the impact he had on the players would have probably driven them on to win anyway. He gave them that extra 5-10%. Incredible man, an incredible footballer.
Yeah, look at there as well. Brian Fox, what a servant he's been. Philip Austin getting the last point. Like, so to see them lads winning finally a Munster title, like they've lost minor and under 21 Munster finals.
Yeah, like Philip Austin, I think, has been there, since 14 years. And he hasn't won a championship medal. And yes, he's given so much to Tipperary football. Fox is the same. He's been there a decade or more now at this stage. The two men, they owe nothing to Tipperary. And to see them win that medal yesterday was very emotional. I got on, like, one of the lucky ones, as you said, to be there, and I spoke to him afterwards, and the emotion was etched on their faces. And I was particularly delighted that the last score of the game went to Philip Austin. I was thrilled to see him come on. I thought he was the right man. I thought it was the greatest substitute to bring in by David Power, an old head to steady the ship and to see the lads over the final few minutes. And he collected that rebound off the post and stuck it over. I was absolutely ecstatic for Philip Austin, particularly being a fellow North Tip man. I think often you're ploughing a lone furrow in North Tip with football, and to see him do that was magical. And as for Foxy, the man is an inspirational leader. He's tears up and down the sideline. He quickly gathers ball in defence. He turns it into attack. He got the crucial point against Limerick in injury time the last day. He surged up on the right wing, and he was looking for the pass, or so it appeared, and Limerick men kept looking around to pick up lads, and suddenly he found himself maybe 30 odd yards out and kicked it over the bar and managed to steady his nerves. He didn't fluff it or anything, and I'm particularly delighted for him as well. He's just a Tipperary footballing hero, and I'm so happy for the two lads to get that medal and to get on the field to play as well for Austin at the end.
Brian Fox, he's getting scores this year. 2020, they say, has been a strange year. We covered here at CK Streaming, we covered him against Galtee Rovers in the relegation, and he came on carrying an injury that day, and he dinked the ball over the keeper. So 2020 has been strange. He's doing things now that he wasn't doing at 20 years of age.
He might disagree with you there, I don't know, but the fact that he was able to come on against Galtee and get that score, as you referred to, carrying an injury, it shows his dedication to his club and to the game and to his county. And there's no man that has given more to Tipperary over the years. Yeah,
it's just brilliant now to see the work gone in by the friends as well, the Friends of Tipp Football. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I only got involved with the Friends of Tipp Football, I think around 2017. I really started to get involved with them. And I see the effort that they put in, and effort that there's no real glory for. No one is going to run out into the pitch yesterday and ask them for their autographs or pat them in the back or shoulder them off the field. Yet they played a crucial role in Tipperary's win. They fundraised, they put in countless hours, and I was delighted Conor Sweeney referred to him in the victory speech afterwards, because they've been led by Joe Hannigan there for a number of years, and now JJ Crowley from Grange Mokler is their chairman. And I see the work that he puts in, particularly delighted for himself and Helen Haw down at Grange Mokler, because I know the Michael story means so much to the two of them, and I know they put in huge work into the Friends. And I see from my own town, Kevin McLaughlin, again, he's put in sterling work over the years, trying to raise money and trying to keep the show on the road. And, it's the only shame really about yesterday's match was that the 12 extended members of the panel wasn't there, and the diehard supporters, like those that work so hard in the Friends, weren't there. It would have been really emotional just to see all those supporters who live and breathe Tipp football, including all the people in the Friends. It would have been really emotional to have them there as well yesterday.
Yeah, because they have put in, as you say, countless hours, and they do travel the length and breadth of the country as well. They say supporters can be fickle, but
not the Friends.
The football supporters in Tipperary are the most loyal that you can come across. And
I remember last, I think it was February, we were going up to play Derry on a really wet and windy Sunday morning, and the heavens had opened all week, and it was touch and go as to whether the match would start or not. And yet the Friends were getting on a bus, I think it was at 5 a.m. in Clonmel, and they drove up to Derry, and they were only about 30 minutes from Derry City when they got word that the match was definitely going ahead. And the amazing thing about them was they actually outnumbered the Derry supporters in Celtic Park. They're an incredible bunch of people, the Tipp football supporters. I often say to people, it's more like a club team than an inter-county team, because you kind of know everybody that's there, and there's a lovely spirit and a lovely community amongst everyone involved. And I was talking to a few of them there yesterday and again today, and the emotion coming over the phone from talking to them, they were on the verge of tears, a lot of them, and shows what it means. And one particular man was saying that 5 minutes to go, he had to leave the house, go out into his garden and try and calm down. And he came back in just in time for the full-time whistle. And he said he sat down with his children, and there wasn't a word spoken for at least 9-10 minutes after the full-time whistle, because they were just so emotionally drained, and it meant so much to them that they had no more to give as supporters. Even though they were up in Tipperary watching it down, you can almost feel the connection with the supporters in the stadium. Even though they weren't there emotionally, they were there, their spirits were there, and it was a magical day.
Yeah, it was for, as Conor said, it wasn't just for the players, it was for all them lads and all the people that have gone before him that done so much work for football in the county, so they were obviously looking down on him yesterday.
Well, it seemed like all our stars aligned in the last number of weeks, with Colin O'Riordan becoming available, the jersey being made available to the players to wear. Liam Casey having to cancel his travels, Michael Quinlivan having to cancel his travels. Everything just seemed to come together at the right time. And I don't know if Michael Hogan and the 1920 team and the victims of Bloody Sunday were directing things from above, but it certainly looked like it. It was magical.
You put in a lot of work even before the COVID on the Bloody Sunday. I think you're working a long time on it now, so to commemorate.
Yeah, I'm the secretary of the Bloody Sunday Commemoration Committee, and we started, I think it was 2017, 2018 we started. We got a brilliant committee together, and we've worked really, really hard since then. We used to meet up regularly in the Care House Hotel, and we had a great plan. We had a great program of events planned for 2020, but unfortunately COVID-19 had other ideas, and which was an awful shame. But we were very disappointed to have to cancel numerous events. But at the same time, I remember John Flannery from Nina pointed out, he's one of the lads on our committee, he pointed out that it's a great honour to be remembered on your 100th anniversary, but it's an even bigger honour to be remembered on your 101st anniversary. And all the events we had planned, we have every intention of fulfilling all of those in 2021 and honouring the victims of Bloody Sunday in a very dignified manner. We're not going to forget them. We're not going to cancel the events just because 2020 is over. We're going to make sure all our lectures, our reading ceremonies, our mass and so on will all go ahead, and we'll honour those victims because it's the least they deserve.
I think, as to say, we learnt a lot about the Bloody Sunday in school, but the work that you're after opening people's eyes to in the last few years, nobody realised a lot of the history at all until you went digging.
Yeah, I actually did a history project on Bloody Sunday for my Leaving Cert, and it was back in the 90s. And I can still remember reading various history books and various sources, and the information was just conflicting throughout. I know in some books they had it as Annie Boyle was the woman who died and not Jane Boyle. I know a lot of books had it as an All-Ireland final. They had Michael Hogan as the captain. They had the victims ranging from 11 to 15. I remember asking my teacher about the number of victims and why is it so different in different sources. And in fairness, it all started with Michael Foley's book, The Bloodied Field. He wrote a fantastic book. I think it was released in 2014. And then obviously with the work Foley has done with the Bloodied Field podcast and the various interviews he has done, and I suppose the work our committee has done has brought it to the people's attention and has given voice to the 14 victims. Like we all know of Michael Hogan, we know the Hogan stand, we know he was shot dead. I think we've all known that all our lives, but apart from that, we knew very little about Hogan. And then the other 13 victims, I think most of their names were largely forgotten only for Foley's book. And it really brought back one of the darkest days in Irish history. It brought it back into our consciousness, and it gave voice to the likes of Jerome O'Leary and Willie Perry Robinson and James Matthews and the rest of those that died that day. Like I can even remember Daniel Carroll reading Foley's book, and I was shocked to discover that a man who lived just a few miles from Nina, where I'm from, was one of the victims that day. I had never heard of Daniel Carroll before Foley's book. And for Michael Foley to bring people like him back to our consciousness, and he's done a tremendous job for these people. And I know the Templederry Club, they erected a lovely plaque to him on their clubhouse wall last year. And then as well, in the last week or two, looking at Twitter, looking at all the primary schools, I think the teachers of Tipperary deserve huge credit as well. I know from looking on Twitter and seeing the projects that they have put up, photographs and presentations from the school children has been fantastic. And I know, talking to a friend of mine, he's a father of 3 young children, they were saying that they really got into Bloody Sunday and really got into the story behind it. And they're from North Tipperary. They wouldn't have a great football background. But talking to him last night, he was saying the 3 kids were screaming the house down when the referee blew the full-time whistle. And, bringing the story to life has brought, I suppose, this football to people who are probably more traditional hurling fans. It's just been an emotional week, an incredible time. And it all started with Michael Foley. He deserves huge credit. I think the GEA themselves as well, they put their best foot forward on Saturday night with the commemoration in Croke Park. I thought they got it spot on. It was really emotional, really, really powerful. And it's something, I have it recorded on the Skybox, and I'll be watching it a lot, I think, over the coming years. It's not one I'll be deleting anyway. I thought it was a fantastic ceremony put together by Croke Park. Fantastic commemoration.
I'm sure that a lot of people are more than grateful to yourself and the rest of the committee to open their eyes up to this, because what you're after doing is a fantastic achievement.
Well, it's nice of you to say that, but none of us are actually looking for any thanks for it. We just saw it as our duty or something we had to do, and we all have a love of the GEA and we all have a love of history, so it was a perfect combination for us. I suppose it's a big interest for us, and we were more than happy to do it. And
come here, thanks for everything. As you said, it's been an emotional week. I'd say you're going to sleep well tonight, but thanks for everything. We look forward to talking to you again very soon. So hopefully aiming for an All-Ireland final.
Thanks very much, Tomas. It was lovely chatting to you on what's a very special night.
Tipperary relinquished their All-Ireland crown on Saturday afternoon with a 2-point defeat to Galway in the Gaelic grounds, and joining us on the show now to discuss that along the line is 2-time All-Ireland medal winner Conor O'Brien and Michael McCarthy, Secretary of the West Board and host of the West Tipperary podcast. Welcome to the show, lads.
Thanks very much, Ross.
Thanks very much, Ross.
Conor, disappointing finish to Tipp's reign as All-Ireland champions. Once again, small margins, especially between the two, Tipp and Galway in the championship.
Yeah, sure. Look, it was an unbelievable game, really. In fairness, from start to finish, a game that ebbed and flowed. Tipp kind of got on top early on. Galway came back into it. With the 2 goals, and we came back again at it, and I suppose look at it turned on on that 52nd, 53rd minute, when Cahill got that second yellow card, and I suppose with Galway's attacking threat, and having that extra body, they're so slick with the ball. I suppose it was just we nearly hung on, but that extra man told, with Hart coming up the field and getting that goal, and I think once Galway got that, once they got the lead, we were going to find it very hard unless we got a goal out of somewhere at that stage. And look, it was very disappointing to go out. But look, I suppose the boys did die with their boots on. In fairness to them, they gave absolutely everything. And I was fairly confident that they would pull it out of the bag, even when we were down to 14. We were always staying at 1-2 points ahead. But look, ultimately it was just too big of an ask, and we ran out of legs and ran out of time, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Michael, the sending off obviously had a big bearing on the game. How did you see it yourself? The first yellow card was obviously suspect.
Yeah, sure. That's the thing. I mean, the sending off was probably the turning point of the game. I mean, the winning goal, the winning score of the game was probably the goal, and it came from that corner where Cahill would have been, and Cahill had been playing well, obviously, through the game. But the first yellow card, I mean, it's been in all the papers. It was on Sunday game last night. From the pictures you couldn't see any contact, so it's very hard to know what he got the first yellow for. The second yellow, then he probably lost. He lost your man for maybe half a second, and he was coming a bit late, and I suppose it's borderline yellow card. But I mean, yellow cards, it's very hard to know now going out in the field what you're going to get a yellow card for. I think he was very harshly done. It ultimately, I think it did cost us in the end, because, as I said, Aidan Hart got that goal, and it was on that right side of Brian Hogan's goal where Cahill would have been standing,
Conor, the first yellow card obviously was suspect enough, but turned it another way. Like Jake Morris was probably looking to stay in the field after 15 minutes, where he could have easily picked up a second yellow. So maybe they say it swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, well, look, it is swings and roundabouts. Look at, I suppose, we benefited from it in the past. Richie Hogan got the line last year, but I don't think that's like for like in terms of like the first one. Like, I've spoke to people who were at the game, and no one can say with any bit of decisiveness what was it for. And I know, so there's no crowds there at the moment. It's like if there was 40,000 in Limerick the other day, if there was a sound off a hurley beating hurley or whatever, you don't hear that with 40,000. So Johnny Murphy might have heard a hurley hitting off something, but you even read Brian Gavin today in the Examiner, and Brian says that Johnny Murphy was right not to give Jake that second yellow, that it was accidental. He did make contact with I'm not sure, it was one of the Manions, I think, was striking the ball. He didn't make contact with him, but he gave him the benefit of the doubt. And like, even the second one, look, it was a yellow card, but I don't think you could say that Cahill was pulling with any malice or anything like that. We couldn't, there's audio all around the grounds now. We didn't hear anything from the second slap, but the first one, and I suppose referees, they're giving a yellow card like that to Cahill. To be honest with you, it was very hard even to see where the free was in the first one. And they're putting themselves under massive pressure then. That it comes down to a decision there where if another one you're going to have to give a red card. Look, it's very hard to see where that first yellow card was. But and I suppose look at the other side of that is that I suppose Cahill did know he was on a yellow, and you can't sail anyway close to the close to then that once you do anything at all, you're giving the referee an excuse to give that second yellow. You see even Ronan, when he was on a yellow card, Whelan got inside him in the second half, and look, it was a grand subtle pull of the arm. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't using the hurley or anything like that. He gave away the free, but look, it was a massive turning point in the game, look, the first one wasn't the yellow card. I don't mind saying any different.
Michael, just as Conor was saying there, with the no crowds there and the clash of the hurls and that, they were all being picked up. Johnny Murphy seemed to give a lot of reasons for clashing of the hurls there. He was very picky there at some stages now.
Yeah, I think that's probably Johnny Murphy's style of refereeing. I mean, I know a lot of people around Limerick and they'd say the same thing, that he can be very picky in games and his free count is always quite high. But I mean, I think you've probably seen with Fergal, like Fergal still is one of the best referees in the country, but he's blown for a lot more now than what he probably did back around 2016, 2017. And I'm wondering, is that coming from Croke Park, that they want the referees to stamp down on little indiscretions and not let the game flow? Like, so it's hard to be critical of the referee,
Yeah, looking at the game itself, like Tipp started well. Shamey was starting very well there, and Dahi Burke, and obviously Galway came back into it. But Tipp had a lot of aimless ways there in the first half from out the field. Now they did score 3 or 4 long range points, but would have been better utilising the ball, giving it into Shamey. The fact that he was winning ball, he was on top of Dahi Burke in the early stages.
Yeah, I suppose we saw a bit of it in the Cork game as well, where we hit long balls from our own half back line and they went wide, and there was a bit more of it there again on Saturday. Shamey won the first 1 or 2 balls that came in, but I mean, Burke had a great game over the 70 minutes, I think. But yeah, look, I think Conor probably knows more now, but like when you're coming out with a ball and you've open ground in front of you and you've a shot at the post, most halfbacks are probably going to take a shot at it, especially Paddy and Ronan and that have hit long range points in the past. They're confident enough in their own ability to go for it.
Well, if Conor O'Brien was coming out the field with a ball, he'd probably want to put it into the full forward line. Be the safest option, would it, Conor?
well, geez, we got in the throat. or find the nearest fella to hand pass it to Tomas. But yeah, so look, we had them wides, and I suppose, like, we started off very well. As we said already, and I suppose that just maybe halted our progress a bit, them wides. I think we had 6, maybe 7 in the first half, and every chance you get, you just need to be taking them, because when the margins are so small, like you just even see the footballers yesterday. I'd say our first 5 shots yesterday were 5 points. You know what I mean? And like the confidence that they gave them to drive into the game, and when you're taking your chances, it drives you into it. And even though you might have chances and you're hitting them wide, it kind of feels as if you're not in the game because you're not putting it on the scoreboard, and we just need to be maybe that little bit more clinical. But I wouldn't blame the lads who are coming out. Like you look at Limerick now, across their half back line, Diarmaid Burns is coming up, he's getting 3 points. They've different, O'Donoghue shooting from out the field, Hannon as well able to take a point. So, half backs now, like you look at even both the games the weekend, like say Clare Waterford and Tipp Galway, you had 10, 11, 12 scorers on each team. So you have scores now coming from all over the field. But we had that wind advantage, and like the ball coming into Shamey, I think after the first few balls was all long, long high ball probably coming in straight. While I think we're at our best when we're switching it from left to right, and Shamey running out into that space. Where he got that point in the second half. He pulled Dahi Burke out of the square. Ronan placed a lovely free in front of it. Touch was good and over the bar. And that's where we need Shamey to be getting the ball. Not, I suppose, in under a high ball trying to wrestle with Dahi Burke, who's one of the best in the game at snapping the ball.
Yeah, positions now in the game at the minute, they don't seem to mean much either. Like Shamey was in full forward most of the game, but the rest of the lads, could be any position, like corner forward 1 minute, wing back the next. You see Barry Heffernan, even Ronan Maher as well, like in the back line. You don't actually know where they're playing. They seem to be moving around the whole time now, whether that's forwards dragging them around the place or positional change. Like, I know at the moment it's very hard to judge it on the television. You're not actually at the games. Like,
yeah, absolutely. But you look at the way the game has gone even at the moment. Say, like, there's very few teams that Tipp are playing in the morning that you will actually probably play an orthodox full back line, where you'll be picking probably 2 corner backs and a full back. Limerick are nearly the only team. Like, you see Sean O'Brien has started them games against Limerick, say last year in the Munster Final, this year as well, because you know that either Casey or Graham Mulcahy or Seamus Flanagan, whoever it is, probably will play in corner forward. They might come out 45 yards. Like, we played our All-Ireland series last year with probably 5 half backs in the team. In terms of you had Paddy, Brendan, Barry Heffernan, Ronan Maher and Seamus Kennedy playing in 5 or 6 back positions, who were probably all most comfortable in the half back line. And Cathal Barrett was your only maybe there would be a natural cornerback. So that's the way the game has gone, that you could end up anywhere on the field with most teams. Like you see Galway the other day, they only played 2 inside in the full forward line. Waterford only played 2 inside in the full forward line. Probably 1 even at times with Desi Hutchison inside. So that's the way the game has gone. It's all putting people out to the mid third, and you kind of defend as a team, and then you attack as a team then as well.
Yeah, Michael, just as Conor was saying there, the way the game has gone now, obviously when you're in possession, you need to be more economical with the ball and more intelligent, just not hitting aimless balls.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's what the game is all about. And like Limerick are probably the form team at the moment, and that's their game. It's all about possession. They work it out through the lines. You'll see Garrod Hegarty and Tom Morrissey coming back into the half back line, or about into midfield to take ball, and Keane Lynch is there in the middle of the field as the link man, and they don't waste the ball, and that's why they are scoring probably so much and putting up big, like what was it, 36 points in the first game, like long range scores. But they're getting into the space, working it into the man that's in space. That's what the way the game has gone. And yeah, I don't know. We probably needed to do a bit more of that, especially in the first half. Like there was a lot of the tactics seemed to be long ball into the full forward line, as Conor said. And it was down on top of Shamey. There was a couple of them that he was able to run out onto, but it was long ball in. We probably didn't get as much scores as we needed to offer.
Yeah, do you feel the plan was to isolate Shamey, Conor?
Oh, I'd say so. I'd say it was trying to go one-on-one, like you had Jason in beside him, and then you had Jay coming out around the half forward line. Noel was operating centre forward, which in fairness worked. Like, Noel got 4 points from playing the first half. I'd say he probably had 2 wides with that, so 6 shots on goal. But as I say, like, and then, look, it's hard with the wind. Like you see, even in against Cork the last day in Limerick, like it suited us much better to be playing against the wind, because we were getting the ball, we were working it through the lines up to maybe the far 65-yard line, and then you can put a ball in front of your forward. While if you're striking it from your own 45 going into the full forward line, you're giving either the cornerback or the fullback that extra probably few seconds to adjust and they've more time to deal with it. Like, while if you're working it up the field and you're doing it from maybe the 65-yard line into the full forward line, it's impossible for a fullback or a cornerback to track that movement. Like,
Yeah, not putting the death nail on anybody's career now or anything, but we have a lot of lads now, a lot of mileage there, say 30, 31, 32. Shamey, I think, is the oldest on at 32. Could it be the last time we've seen some of these lads in the Tipp jersey?
I don't think so. Look, at every fella is different. Like our average age, I think, going out on the pitch the other day was 27. We had 5 lads who were 30 plus. But in saying that, like I thought Paddy and Brendan, I thought that was their best game. I thought that was their best game of the 3 games the other day. Noel is after a very long club campaign, he played, I suppose you're looking at 5 football games, 6 hurling matches in the county championship every Saturday, every Sunday, and then we got 3 weeks of a break, and losing them 2 county finals. I suppose you can't underestimate the impact that would have too, because you're going into the county setup and maybe you're low on confidence, and that would affect you, like, because we know how much them boys, John and Noel, how much they love hurling football for a lot more. Bonner is back after his cruciate injury. And I think there's still, I think he can still come back and get a bit better. But Shavey's 32, as we said, massive service. And I suppose all these lads, look at the boys. Say 4 of the lads are there. They're probably looking at 12 seasons. They're there. Shavey's there 13 seasons. So they've given unbelievable service to the county. And look, they're probably the best that we've seen. Do you know what I mean? They're some of the best that I've seen anyway, for Tipperary. But like the next year, the inter-county you're talking about is going to be early in the year. You're talking about June, July. So it's probably only 8 months. Look at every person's fella, every lad, each one of them fellas are different in terms of their own home lives, families, work and stuff like that. Like, and all that has to be respected and the whole lot. But I don't think it's the last we've seen of them. I think they still have something to offer. But we do need, I suppose, a bit of fresh blood too at the same time. And there is fellas there on that panel at the moment, I think, that can definitely, that will definitely add to it in the next year. in the next year or two, and we'll have to get him in.
Yeah, the likes of Noel obviously needs a break now to recharge the batteries. Like, he was out on his feet there in the second half. Like,
yeah, he was, Tomas. And as Conor said, it's probably the long season. I would imagine that when they went into Thurles there after the football county final, they were probably given as much time as they could to recover and didn't have to do any of the hard work. But like, I think the mental side of losing those two county finals definitely had to play on their minds. Like, Noel was a minor in 07, so he's turning 31 there in December. So, but like, he's a fit guy. Like, all these guys look after themselves very well. Shamie Callan he was a minor in 06, but Shamie Callan was doing probably the most work of all the players on the field. He plays a real captain's part. I mean, he got a goal there on Saturday. I think it's his 36th goal of his career. He overtook Eddie Kerr and the all-time goal scoring. That's phenomenal achievement. He's still running around. You see that clip that Ray Boyne had from the Cork game where he runs the 40 yards out to get the hook on Mark Coleman, and he was doing that again on Saturday. Callan is as fit as he probably ever was. I don't see any of these guys hanging up their boots. They certainly will want to come back next year and answer any critics that they had from these 3 or 4 games anyway.
Yeah, I suppose Shamie seems to have got better as he's got older. Like, so he was kind of winning off of the team there when he came around and placed first. Like, he had a good 08 when he came on first. I think he was dropped for the All-Ireland semi-final, but he came on and got a goal. But then a couple of years after that, he was in and out, and he seems to have got better as he got older.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, even that goal Shamie got the other day, I suppose if you go back 7 or 8 years ago, I don't know what he had got it. You know what I mean? The way he knew, I think it was Fintan Burke was trying to get back on him, and he came back in on his left-hand side to finish it. It was just a class finish. And like, I made my debut the same day as Shamie did below in Cork in 08, and I suppose, like, tremendous admiration for Shamie, because Shamie gave, I suppose, after that maybe, he played in 09. He didn't play. He was coming as a sub in 10, 11, 12, 13. Didn't go well for him, and he played the first round we played the first round in Limerick, against Limerick. In 13, Shamie was full forward, and he got a few chances that day. Richard McCarthy managed to get hooks and blocks at him out of nowhere. I don't know how he done it. And the first round in 14 probably worked out the same, where Shamie was creating the chances, and then it all took off from Shamie from that Galway qualifier inside in Thurles. I think Shamie got 2 goals that day, and ever since, Shamie's career has just absolutely rocketed, really. And like, he was a Player of the Year nominee in 14, 15, and 16. If I'm correct, and like, that's like, to stay at that level, over that period of time for the last, I suppose you're looking at the last 6 years, 7 seasons, is phenomenal. And Michael is 100% right. Like, Shamie is setting the standard for the work rate in the forwards. Like, you see him there, like, he'll run 50 yards just to put pressure on a fella to get a hook, get a block, whatever it is, and it's phenomenal work rate. So, like, and as I say, like, it's a very quick turnaround now. It's only going to be, this league is probably going to kick off again in maybe February or March, the way they're talking. So, it's not like lads are finishing in August and you're not going to be playing again for another 6 months. It's not the way it's working. So, I think Michael is 100% right. I think them boys will want to go out and prove themselves again next year, as they've done so often in the past.
Just going back to the game there as well, Liam Sheedy was saying that Johnny Murphy maybe shouldn't have been refereeing the game. That's the whole Limerick factor in it. Now, Ursula Jacob brought it up last year before Tipp played Wexford that Sean Clear was refereeing it, and Henry Shefflin brought it up the night before when James Owens was refereeing Kilkenny and Limerick. Does this really play into a referee's mindset, do you think, if their county is still left in the championship?
No, I don't think so. Look, I suppose it's an unusual one, and it's probably, I don't know, maybe the GA shouldn't be putting the referees in that position, but like, I think there's no referee going out to, it doesn't play on their mind, and there's no referee going out to do anyone. I mean, Fergal ref the Limerick Clare game with the winners to play Tipp, and there was no issue with it. No, I don't think it's an issue. I don't see why anyone should bring it up. There's none of those referees are doing. They're all by the book, and no, I don't subscribe to that at all.
Yeah, Conor?
Yeah, look, I suppose it's I think Michael said it there. Like, it is putting the referees in a position where they can be criticised. You know what I mean? And it can become an issue. And like, I even see there, I'm working with a few Kerry lads inside Limerick, and after Kerry played Cork in the football, you know, I was getting it from the Kerry boys that Derek O'Mahony, the Tipp fella, lined up for it. Like, you know, so I suppose you are giving the, you know, the supporters and whoever else an excuse to criticise the referee. Now, I think Michael is right. I don't think any of them referees are going out that's in their head, because the reality is they know that they are scrutinised so much at this stage that if they do make a mistake, that's going to be put up on a big screen above in Croke Park when the referees are going through their, you know, when they're assessing these games, and they'll be told straight out that you shouldn't have done this and you shouldn't have done that, and you'll be docked. You know, I suppose we haven't even seen, was the Galway ref that refed, say, Tipp and Limerick below? Was it Liam Gordon? Was it? Like, we haven't seen him since. You know what I mean? We haven't seen him since for that performance. And, you know, he's a ref that I've seen in the past. I think he's a very good referee, but look at, I suppose, the conditions and everything, the things just went astray on him that evening. But look at, I suppose, in the pool of referees then is very small. You know, it is really, I suppose, what have you in the Lee McCarthy? Have you 10 referees that can ref in the Lee McCarthy? So, you know, so like, it is a small enough thing. And, you know, look at it. The only thing I'd say is that by putting refs into that position, that you're giving people an excuse to criticise.
Yeah, just finishing up, lads. Now, the football, great firm. I'm sure that you want to send you congratulations, Conor. You know, a club man on it.
Yeah, Ash, it was absolutely unbelievable, Tomas. You know, like, what an achievement after 85 years. You know, and the centenary of the 100 years from Bloody Sunday, and you know, just the way the whole thing just came together. You know, it's just incredible to think that you have the same 4 semi-finalists as what you had 100 years ago, back in 1920. And yeah, look, I suppose we gave the boys a great chance going into the game. You know, these boys have absolutely zero fear of Cork, and the minute Cork beat Kerry, I'd say the lads were rubbing their hands saying, I think we've a great chance here. And like, you even put the two teams beside each other. You know, Tipp have way more experience than what that Cork team had. I think was it 5 or 6 the Cork backs were 22 and younger. Like, so that was just magnificent. And for ourselves there, Brian Fox, you know, we'd now a drive through, bit of a celebration above in Donoghue there tonight, just to congratulate Brian. And like, I remember Brian was captain of the Tipp under 21 football team in 2009 that was bet by Cork in Thurles with the last kick of the game. A ball came in from way out the field and went all the way to the net, and they were bet by a pint. And I remember he was so heartbroken from that. And, you know, he's tried hard since to win that medal, but fair play to him. He got his dues. He's been an inspiration to us in the club ever since he started wearing the jersey, but since he started playing first team hurling for us back in 2006. He's been an inspiration to us all, and he keeps producing, and you know, he's done it again, and he's had to fight hard to get that jersey, you know, to get that starting jersey. I suppose he was a sub for the first 2 rounds coming on and contributing, but he earned his jersey, and what a fantastic win for everyone involved. Well done to David Power. He's been you know, plowing that furrow now for a long time, you know, getting the boys up to that level, and it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, is it written in the stars, Michael?
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, it lined up for us. I mean, probably getting Cork in the final, and then with the way it fell, and the weekend that was in it, it was absolutely, it was a great occasion. Like, I suppose if we didn't have COVID, we probably wouldn't be looking at this, because Liam Casey and Quinlivan would have been gone off travelling, and obviously we wouldn't have been playing on the bloody Sunday weekend. But I mean, the way it worked out, it's phenomenal, and like, fair play to the boys. David Power went to them the Monday after they qualified and asked them what did they think about wearing the jersey, and they agreed to amend that they no problem at all. And like, as strange as it was to not see Tipp in blue and gold, like, it did look the jersey was fabulous, and it looked great to see them in those colours. And like, it was tastefully done on Saturday night in Croke Park, and then to see the boys out yesterday and then to pull it off, like, I mean, it's brilliant. And it was brilliant for Brian Fox, and like, his 13th season on that panel. I mean, he's the hardest working. I firmly believe he's the hardest working footballer in the country. I mean, he is up and down that field. Like he plays from more often than not from that number 12 spot. I mean, Brian Dooher is probably who you'd compare him to, but I mean, I think Fox is phenomenal. He, like Conor said, he gives everything. He really gives everything to the jersey. You see him coming off; his legs are barely able to carry him coming off. He'd given so much. Like I don't agree that he was struggling to get his spot at the start, because I think David Power was keeping him. He wanted him for the end of games. I think you probably do get 60 minutes out of Brian, and that's probably it at this stage of his career. And in the first two games, he gave him the chance and just kept him for the end of the game. But obviously, with the starting of O'Riordan as well yesterday, he went out from the start to show the best hand. Obviously, it worked. I mean, we went in 4 points up at half time. We got that great start, as Conor said earlier, that our shots we couldn't miss in the first 10-15 minutes. But I mean, David Power has the Midas touch. I mean, he won an All-Ireland minor back in 11. And a lot of these guys were playing again yesterday and pulled off the first Munster final in 85 years. It's a serious achievement, and couldn't congratulate him enough. It's brilliant.
Well, an All-Ireland semi-final to look forward to, and hopefully we'll go further in that again. Lads, thanks very much for coming on the show, our pilot show. Really appreciate it, and best of luck going forward, and we hope to be talking to you again soon.
No bother at all. It's great, Tomas. Thanks.
Perfect, Tomas. Thanks very much.
Clonakilty GAA Club have recently undertaken a fundraising initiative to build a ball wall in their field to help promote the club. We are joined here by Colin Murray, Chairman of the Juvenile Club, and John Ryan, Chairman of the Senior Club. John, welcome to the show. Huge fundraising going on in Clonakilty at the moment.
Thanks, Tomas. It's a great get the opportunity to say a few words about the club, lads. We're founded in 1905, doing well, a lot of players. We have approximately 40 adult players and a lot of juvenile players from all ages. And at the moment we're trying to raise funds to build a ball wall. It's going well. We've got one page there, and we're delighted with the amount of people that have supported us so far. Last week we're actually running a virtual quiz, and we got a lot of funds into that, but they'll run the show for next year. Because as you all know, we can't hold any fundraisers this year. It's a big loss not to happen. This virus is taking its toll across the country, and people are afraid to move out.
Colin, huge work going into fundraise for this ball wall. When was it decided?
Johnson was there. This year of all years going, it's not an easy year for fundraising. So it was trying out there to set up a GoFundMe page. We started off 6 weeks ago now, and it's actually going very well. We're just a small bit shy of 9,000. It's for the ball wall, it's for the development of the club. On my end of it, it's for the juveniles. We have almost 80 juvenile members. We have 50 to 60 kids between 6 and 12 years of age. They're the future of the club. So we decided to go with the ball wall is to stretch the year out longer. We can start back earlier when we have a solid surface, and we can sort of stay going longer during the year. It's just to help with the coaching and help with the skills. So we decided to go to the GoFundMe page. Anyone that wants to make a donation, if they log on to GoFundMe.com and type in Clonakilty GAA wall, the facility will come up there to donate. For anyone that's not on Facebook and able to do it that way, they can contact any member, myself, Chairperson Enda, the Juvenile Secretary, John, the Senior Secretary. We facilitate anyone that wants to make a donation. We're confident that we'll reach our target. We hope to call a deadline before Christmas and go away from there.
Yeah, it's vital that people do get behind it, and the parents as well. And you can see that, as you said, you've huge numbers, but you're promising Sean as well. You were beaten in an under-14 North semi-final against Rossgrave by a point after extra time. Who went on to win the county. You were probably the only team that put up to them all year. The under-16s were beaten in the North final very unluckily against Lawlor, and there was only a point between the Miners and Silvermines, who went on to win as well in a North semi-final. So the future is bright for the club.
Yeah, we're in a unique position here. We have the numbers. From under 12 down, we have great numbers, but girls are a very important part of our juvenile club here in Clonakilty. But from 12 years upwards, girls aren't allowed to play. So Clonakilty made the decision 5-6 years ago, John.
Yeah.
So we're joined up with Donegal GA from under 14 up to 9. It's, as Tomas says, a very successful year this year. They got 3 North finals, lost one of them in extra time by a pint, and just that year, that team now, we believe that they're going to uneven numbers, and it's going to be an under 15 team next year. So that means that team is together for another year. So we hope to give a good dash at that. And as Tomas says, the Kenny Moneygall under 16s and minors were in very hard luck. They competed very well.
Yeah, and Clonakilty, John, they have a good representation on them teams, like, so.
Yeah, true, and like if you go back to the first year we started with Moneygall, we won a county minor B final, and the following year we went to minor A and we won a North A, and it was very hard luck not to win a county semi-final, beaten by St. Mary's by a couple of pints. The bulk of the players that was involved in that are actually more or less on the senior team now. Some of them are playing junior, but most of them are playing on the senior team. And only for that we'll be struggling for numbers at senior level. And it was a great opportunity for players. We were always used to playing underage at a C grade. And when you step up then to come up against the bigger clubs, where younger players have been all playing at A level, it's a totally different game. And it was a big boost to the club to have players playing at the higher standards. We also have players there to have Willie Ryan won the Senior All-Ireland with Tipp in the 16 and Damian Ryan won the minor and under 21 with the county. And it's a big plus to the club to have players representing their club there at county level.
Yeah, like the ball is obviously going to be a big help there to bring on skills and that now. Like.
The ball is vital for the club, for players to get in their first touch. That's what we found was missing this year. If you're not able to get the ball in the first touch, there's someone that the defender is in and she's gone. And it's important for them to start at a young age, and hopefully with what young players is involved in the club, it will be a big boost to them, and we'd like to see parents getting involved in support of it.
Yeah,
I think the ball, it will help with skills. You know, I mean, as John says, first touch and quickness, and it's also, you don't have to call off training because of weather like that. We'll have a hard surface to play on, and we have the coaches there now, and I must say, we have senior players helping out with the Moneygall, Kenny under 14, 16 and minors, which is great. It sees kids that there's an interest coming from the senior club, and now we also have John Joe Ryan in the school for 2 hours every week, which is a big plus. That means they're getting their coaching all year round. It's not just for the summertime.
And these kids obviously look up to these players, so having them involved is a big help.
Yeah. It shows them, and it shows them that progress along, they have to make the effort, and they can talk. They're all stories. We were all junior players one time, and we worked our way up to senior, and you know, I mean, every young lad likes to play senior for the club, and we were fortunate enough to have a few players wearing the blue and gold, but like every young lad's dream is to wear the blue and gold. But it all starts here in the hurling field, so we're asking for a big push for this ball, and if anyone has any trouble contributing, contact the club member or log on to, as I said already, gofundme.com and type in Clonakilty GA ball, and you'll be able to make your donation that way. We're not asking for much, whatever people can afford, small, big, we don't mind.
Yeah, well, obviously, we hope that the parish will get behind you, and we'd like to wish you the best of luck, lads, and thanks very much.
Yes, thanks very much for having us there.
If any team or school would like to feature along the line and would like to promote the good work in their community, send us a message on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, or on our email at contactckstreaming@gmail.com.
So there you have it, that's our first show. Thanks to all our guests on the show, really appreciate it.
Please rate and review, like and share.
Join us next week when we'll be looking back on Tipperary's All-Ireland Camogie semi-final against Galway and the All-Ireland Senior Hurling semi-finals. Thanks and see you soon.
Good luck.